Hey guys, what's up? I'm Erin and welcome back to the channel. Imagine a savings account where your money gets to grow completely tax-free and you can access it at any time for any reason. Sounds too good to be true, right? Well, it's not a fantasy and it could become a reality. Let's explore a universal savings account, a powerful saving and investing tool that could revolutionize the way Americans invest for their future. Recently, several proposals have been put forward for universal savings accounts, or USAs, not to be confused with our country, the USA, and these proposals have been put forward by conservative lawmakers. And now that we have a Republican president in office, people are wondering, could these accounts become a reality for Americans? First and foremost, we have to break down exactly what a universal savings account is. A universal savings account allows your money to grow completely tax-free and then be withdrawn with pretty much unlimited flexibility. The intent behind these accounts is to encourage saving and investing and really simplify the process. Universal savings accounts are similar to Roth IRAs, as in your contributions are made with post-tax dollars, they get to grow completely tax-free, and they can be withdrawn completely tax-free. However, there is a key difference between Roth IRAs and universal savings accounts. With Roth IRAs, they are fantastic retirement savings vehicles, but that is their purpose, saving for retirement. That is not the intent of a universal savings account. Yes, this money is put in on a post-tax basis. It can be invested so it can grow for your future, but the key is here that you can take this money out at any time for any reason without facing any sort of penalty or any sort of tax consequence. The goal here is to streamline investing and saving for your future near-term and long-term goals. Existing tax-advantaged accounts include accounts like the 401k, which is tied to employment and earmarked for retirement, the Roth IRA, which is earmarked for retirement, HSAs, earmarked for medical expenses, 529s, earmarked for education-related expenses. We have a lot of tax-advantaged accounts, but generally they have a singular purpose and fairly strict rules, and if you don't follow these rules, penalties and taxes can come into play. Universal savings accounts do not have a singular targeted purpose, and importantly, they do not have required minimum distributions, mandatory amounts dictated that you have to take out of your account at a certain age by the IRS. The whole goal of these accounts is simplicity, and they kind of streamline the saving and investing process. And some argue that they're more inclusive because they're not tied to employment, so they're available to more people. Removing the tax burden on investments can really help people build wealth over time, especially for essentials like a new car or a down payment on a home. Savings that is otherwise subject to a tax drag. When we're saving for a near-term goal, the funds for this generally go into accounts like a high-yield savings account or a money market fund or even a traditional brokerage account. And all of these accounts face an annual tax burden, and that can slow the rate of your growth over time compared to a tax-free account. Let's consider the compound effect of allowing post-tax dollars to grow tax-free compared to facing an annual tax burden. In a low-tax scenario, looking at investments that are held for the long term, so held for 1 year or more, held in tax-efficient, low-cost vehicles like index funds or ETFs, and primarily subject to qualified dividends, we might experience a tax drag on an annual basis of 0.3% of a fund's value. However, in a high-tax scenario, if we look at actively managed funds, funds that are held for the short term and subject to non-qualified dividends, we might face an annual tax drag of 1% on an annual basis of the fund's value. So if we have $50,000 invested and it grows at 8% over the course of 30 years, with no taxes, it could grow to about $550,000. In a low tax scenario, under the same conditions, a $50,000 investment could grow to about $500,000. And in a high tax scenario, that $50,000 investment would grow to about $400,000. Even in small amounts, that tax drag makes a difference. And the more you have invested, the more pronounced this tax drag becomes. In looking at universal savings accounts, there are two proposals that have gained attention. One is outlined by Project 2025 and would allow individuals to invest $15,000 post-tax dollars, allow it to be invested and grow completely unrestricted, and then be able to withdraw these funds at any time for any reason. The other universal savings account has been proposed by House of Representatives member Diana Harshberger, a Republican from Tennessee. The proposal is for U.S. citizens age 18 and older would be able to contribute $10,000 a year post-tax or $20,000 a year post-tax for married couples. This money would be able to be invested, get to grow completely unrestricted, and then be able to be withdrawn at any time for any reason. This specific proposal does suggest that these contribution limits would be adjusted on an annual basis for inflation, just like other tax-advantaged accounts, and it also suggests that there would be an income range for eligibility, suggesting a phase-out range for individuals with a modified adjusted gross income of $200,000 and higher, and married couples filing jointly with an income of $400,000 and higher. Again, the proposal does suggest that these income ranges would be indexed for inflation. Now, when we look at these income ranges and these contribution limits, it does seem to strike a similar chord to Roth IRA accounts. Now, this type of account, a universal savings account, isn't as revolutionary as it may first come across. For instance, our neighbors to the north, Canada, have a universal savings account known as a tax-free savings account, which allows for post-tax contributions of $7,000 on an annual basis, and these funds can be utilized at any time for any reason. And arguably, these funds have become widely adopted. As of 2020, half of all Canadian adults have one of these accounts. And importantly, when you look at lower income earners, participation is 5 times higher in these accounts than it is in retirement plans in Canada. Now, with every proposal that comes forth, there are some criticisms and some potential downsides. First and foremost, tax savings for individuals represents a tax loss for the government. And lesser tax revenues means that there's lesser funding for public services, which can be essential. Also, there's an argument that these accounts would be more utilized by those with higher income earners who have more disposable income to put towards savings and investing. And the argument is that this would further the wealth gap. Yes, these accounts would be available to those lower income earners, but they may be limited in their participation simply because they lack the disposable income to put towards investments and savings. Another argument that I do think deserves consideration is that for the potential users of these accounts, is the potential misuse of these accounts, or that they might reduce the use of other tax-advantaged accounts. Let's face it, for the vast majority of us, money is a finite resource. We only have so many dollars that we can contribute to savings and investments on an annual basis. And if you're using accounts like a 401k and a Roth IRA, perhaps an HSA, a 529, and maybe universal savings accounts if they become available, the choice to use multiple accounts is also the choice to put lesser dollars in all of those accounts. It gets spread among multiple pots rather than a singular pot. And for many individuals, if they were to put funds into a universal savings account, that could very well mean that they're saving less for their retirement years, when having a pot of money is essential when you step away from the workforce and no longer have a paycheck to rely on. So that could jeopardize their future for the sake of having dollars that they could access today. For instance, if you were to put money into a universal savings account, you would probably have no hesitation to take that money out and pay for, say, a European vacation. Whereas you're probably not going to use that money to pay for a vacation if it were in your 401k or your child's 529. For those less inclined to save for their future, having these guardrails on accounts can encourage pause and encourage thoughtful spending and thoughtful saving. With that said, I am a strong advocate for savings and investment vehicles. I love the idea of adding another potential option to your financial arsenal, but I do think it's worth saying that even if options become available, it doesn't mean that you have to add another option to your portfolio. There is something to be said about having a portfolio that is as simple as you need it to be. Yes, as you get older, maybe there is some complexity that comes with your portfolio, but I do want to caution against giving overly complex and having more accounts than necessary. But I do think the more savings and investing options that we have available to people, the more we can encourage them to save and invest in different ways and open up a lot of doors. Whether universal savings accounts become available in the US is unclear, but the potential is there. And if they get introduced, I do think they offer a lot of tax advantages and they offer a lot of flexibility when it comes to saving for short-term goals. No matter what happens though, the best thing you can do is take advantage of the accounts that you have available for you today and keep your eyes open to potential accounts that come down the road. What are your thoughts on universal savings accounts? Leave them in a comment down below. I post new videos every single week. If you got anything at all out of this one, please give it a like. If you're new here, please consider subscribing, or if you know of someone who might get something out of this type of content, please consider sharing. I'll see you soon. Bye. That's the most annoying hair in the world. I think there were too many words in that sentence, but I'm not gonna redo it. Sick all the time now. Just sick all the time. However, there is a beat. Can't talk today. There's a lot here, but I really like this part, so let's do well. It's one of those days. It's a sunny day. Messes with my lighting. And my hair, what do I do with it? Where is this even? I can't even. I don't know where that is even. What do I do with this? Seriously? This is why you don't have a baby. Dang. She's 65. Probably a little bit of a facelift in there. Looks great. Why not, right? 65, like, looks really good for 65. I think we should all focus on the important things, which is aging well. Maybe 30 years down the road, I can get the phone number of whoever did that facelift. Shh. That was awful.